From the heart of Bulldog Country, this is Sports Central on Bulldog Sports TV, brought to you by Harrison County Community Hospital. We're your weekly home for in-depth coverage, highlights, and insider insight on everything South Harrison Bulldogs. Whether it's game-winning moments or what's coming up next, Sports Central is your front row seat to it all. It's time to break it down, fire it up, and celebrate Bulldog pride like never before. Let's join your host, CF Rainey and Andrew Sweat.
All right, so we welcome you into another Sports Central, sponsored again by Harrison County Community Hospital. Appreciate their sponsorship, all of our sponsors, and all of you as you get ready to tune in. We usually give just a moment for people to jump in here. So, Andrew, I'll go ahead and we'll shift over here so we can start to talk. I know a lot of people maybe can't catch it live, but will catch us later. And so first thing I want to talk about real quick, I think, Andrew, it was the first ever. So the GRC only has 4 teams that play volleyball. And so down in Maysville on Saturday of last week, they went down and had a round-robin tournament. South Harrison girls won that first ever GRC volleyball tournament. There's a picture of the team with the plaque. Coach Lisa Cannon and Jess Estes there as well. And so they beat Brookfield 2-0, beat Maysville 2-0, and then tied Trenton 1-1 and ended up with the win there in the inaugural GRC round robin. Hopefully more teams will come on playing volleyball, but a big win for them. And then real quick, we'll shoot up. Their district starts next week. It is in Lawson, and Lawson, that 1 seed, is looming after the first round. South Harrison plays a Brookfield team, Andrew, looking at our schedule, that we've beat 3 times. And so if we can hold serve, get another district win. Last year was their first district win ever in volleyball. And so excited for South Harrison volleyball next week, and we'll keep you up to date where they go. Another big one, Andrew, and we talked about it, you and I, before, is South Harrison girls golf. They have went to state each of the last few years. They placed to state, and they finished first in district play as a team, which means the entire team will move on to state. And you look at that scoreboard, 384 to 411. Obviously, golf, if you don't know, the lower the score, the better. And South Harrison, by a number of strokes, was able to do that. And then we'll shoot up here the individuals, and you see Abby Owens, again, by a 10-stroke lead. She was the district champion. And then Ainsley Clint, also from South Harrison, placed in at 3rd. I think Amber Criley was like 16th. And so as a team, they did great. And they will move on to state, and it starts next Monday. I think it'll be Monday, Tuesday. And I plan on trying to find some time with Coach Kel Watson, the girls' golf coach, as well as AD. We had some technical difficulty yesterday trying to get it going, but to talk with him. And then before we get into some of our football stuff, softball districts start tonight, not for South Harrison, but they will play the winner of Hamilton, Penny, and Brookfield. And again, in this district, Andrew, South Harrison has defeated all 5 of the teams. That Trenton team, a tough one, but South Harrison should be expected to at least get to that championship game. And I'll have a video out tomorrow. Once we get into postseason play, everything changes. That's with football as well as softball. And so everything has to go through the Missouri State High School Activities Association. And my plan right now with them is to broadcast that championship game. And I'll get all that information out tomorrow about how you can access that, because it won't be through Facebook or YouTube. It has to go through Misha TV, and we'll get some information on that out. But now we'll get, Andrew, to the game that you and I did together last week, South Harrison versus Brookfield. And it was a good game, right? South Harrison, it's been a while since we had those, and I'll pause it here. We're getting ready to see the first score. But South Harrison, Andrew, was moving the ball, had a fumble early, and so they weren't able to score on that first drive. And I feel like Brookfield defensively, especially there in that first half, only holding South Harrison to 1 touchdown, was doing a good job of crowding that line of scrimmage and making it tough for South Harrison to run.
Yeah, I think it was 9-0 at halftime. Thought it was going to be maybe a down to the wire type game as it turned 9-6 there. But yeah, getting started off early, really a tight game. South Harrison run game was the main point, I would say, of that offense. They played really well on both sides of the football. But yeah, it looked like we were in for a real dogfight. But as we'll move along, South Harrison did start to pull away there and came in with the dub.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of let this play out. So this is a 44-yard run by Mason Galloway for a touchdown, kind of coming
Yeah,
right into your camera here on the outside.
yeah. Galloway had a few big runs. I think a couple of them maybe got called back, but
Yeah, he had
yeah,
another one that was almost similar that ended up he got
yeah,
into the end zone. And so that he gets down at the 2, and then Craig Coffey does what he does, and he punches in. But again, South Harrison didn't score. You'll see we flipped into the field, didn't score
yeah.
until just the beginning of that second quarter.
Yeah, I remember we didn't really have a lot to talk about at halftime. Usually we're naming off, 5 touchdowns, 3 by Coffee, 2 by Galloway. There really wasn't a lot going on here in the second quarter as well.
Yeah, and this
You can
ended up
see.
being one of those big plays. South Harrison was, I think, after a penalty, was 3rd and 15, down near the 10 their own 10-yard line, and a big pass play here from Jet Cornett
Yeah,
out to the tight end Gage Barclay.
yeah, really good play calling to switch it up there. And Barclay's a guy, he doesn't catch the football a lot as he's in that tight end position. But so, that Brookfield defense wasn't really expecting it, but really good play call there and
Yeah, and
execution on a
he
big
was
third
able to make
ball.
a couple guys miss, and he had Ruger Johnson and Joel McCall out in front of him pulling, and that was huge because right there, if you're South Harrison, you're thinking, hey, we get stopped here, we're definitely punting because you're in
Yeah,
the shadow of your own end zone, and then we get a big run here as well in the second quarter uh, from Craig Coffey, and it shows you while they didn't have as many of those big gains, and this one I thought he was down, and I kind of remember this, and
yeah.
then he just kind of squirted through there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Craig Coffey, it seems like he keeps on making longer and longer runs every week. We started off just saying, he's good at making those 6 yard carries, which he is, but these defenses just don't seem to have really any answer, and he's picking up, 20-plus yard carries each game. So that's a really good thing going in, nearing towards district play.
Yeah, and so this is one of those South Harrison got it all the way down, if you remember, Andrew, to the 1.
Yep.
There was a penalty that pushed it back. They throw a little swing pass out to Mason Galloway in the flat, and the corner for Brookfield made a great play and stopped him right on the 1. So turnover on downs, and you think, oh boy, because Brookfield's going to get the ball to start the second half. They've got some momentum, and then we see this down in that north end zone with Ethan Smith.
Yeah, Ethan Smith is probably my player of the game this week. He played absolutely phenomenal. Big tackles and big moments there. Big safety. Um, you know, that's Brookfield starts to get back in it here at the 65-yard TD run.
Yeah, and so this is their first play from scrimmage in the second half, and they just get the edge. I was actually talking to Case Morgan today. I was at the school, and he's like, "Hey, that was on me. I got out of position, didn't get
Yeah.
out there." And but the only score, and South Harrison's done a really good job of that throughout the season. Other than
Yeah, it
that
seems like
punting game, really just locking it down defensively. Maybe one little
yeah.
and Andrew, you've been there. You were a high schooler, right? I mean, there's mental lapses in the NFL. There's mental lapses in college football.
Oh yeah.
So as a team, just to have one of those per game, especially the way South Harrison scores, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and especially as a young guy, it's really easy if you do make a mistake like that to just get in your head, and it could game could have been a lot different, but the team, gets back up on their feet. And I've really seen that from Jet Cornett. He hasn't really thrown a lot of interceptions, but when he has or fumbled it, he's not gonna throw the game away and be all upset. Like he's has his calm composure and he makes smart plays, and that's really what an experienced football team does, and a good football team that can win games. I've
And
seen that from the Dogs this year.
and so South Harrison, right? It's now 9-6 because the point after attempt failed. They go on a drive, Andrew, that takes the entirety, right? So Brookfield got the kickoff, one play. Uh, I'm guessing Brookfield had about 30 seconds of time possession to this point in that third
Yeah,
quarter, and then we see, and I'll just let this roll. This long drive that just wears down this Brookfield team. Fourth down conversion. Craig Coffey up the middle this time. we're going to see another fourth down. I think 4 fourth down conversions on this drive.
Yeah. Yeah, you could just tell that D line and most of the defense were just like hands on the hips, like just wanting this drive to be over. And I remember when Brookfield eventually came out, I was like, we hadn't seen their offense in what seemed to be so long, but driving down and ended up with a score was
Yeah,
massive.
and
And I think was this the drive with the controversy going on?
yeah, so that
I
was at
can't
the
quite
end of
remember.
the third quarter.
Yeah,
And then so South Harrison, we see it here. We've flipped ends, right? We've went through the entire third quarter with South Harrison with the ball. Just a couple of big runs by Cray Coffey. This was another one by Cray in the Wildcat type formation, and then we just saw the play before that. Jet Cornett on a bootleg keeps it and gets out on a 4th and 4, and so fourth down, and that just wears. And then Mason Galloway finishes it off with a 2-yard touchdown run.
yeah, just a beautifully executed drive. That's what you want as a coach. I'm sure the offense was tired too, but it feels a lot better to walk up the field with a touchdown.
And then we see another 18-yard pass to Gage Barclay. And this is one Jet kind of gets his first read in there, and he scrambles out, uses athleticism, and Gage just kind of releases in the flat, goes down, makes a great catch, and then
Yeah,
almost gets flung forward by the defender to almost get a first down. And then the defense continued to work. This is a big sack by Joel McCall. All those frontline defenders made great plays throughout this game.
oh yeah. And that's one of the reasons, like secondary did step up and play well, but that's one of our weaknesses. And that D line got to the quarterback so much that he had pressure in his face all game and really didn't have a chance to make a throw. So just really good performance by them.
And then we see a big play from 2 of the sophomores here on this pass. It's going to be a hook and ladder, and Trevor Henry with the hit, and then Case Morgan able to beat the Brookfield offensive players to the ball and cover that up. And so that was big, right? Because it was still, a game within striking distance, and then South Harrison finished it off because it was 16-6 right here with Cray Coffey. Again, those tough yards, and he stays on his feet all the way into the end zone. And South Harrison gets the extra point and makes it right there, 23-6 there for the final. So not as big of winning margin as they've had the last few weeks. But Andrew, Brookfield's obviously a much better team than what South Harrison's seen with their other 3 games prior to this.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's kind of a fear as a coach or a fan that, we've played, I don't want to say cupcake teams, but, they weren't that good. We played 3 in a row. It's easy to kind of overlook these guys and maybe think we're better and not be prepared for a tough test like this. But that obviously wasn't the case. South Harrison came in there, guns a-blazing, and, wore that Brookfield defense out, and just really impressive win as they moved to 6-1.
Yeah, and so they grinded out, and we'll go ahead and throw that up here in the GRC. And so set right behind the Putnam County, the only blemish on South Harrison's record so far. And obviously we're at Polo, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. But the other big game this week, if you're a South Harrison fan, is that Putnam County Gallatin game. Because really probably, Andrew, just looking at records, the last team Putnam will play that has a good chance to play with them and maybe find a way to upset them and to get the Bulldogs a share of that GRC title.
Yeah, that's really our only hope. We'll need some help to get that. Gallatin's a good team. We still have them on our schedule as well. So, do you know if it's at Putnam or at Gallatin? I think it's
I
at
can't remember.
Gallatin.
Let me look here. I don't know. I've got volleyball up here, but just one of those, right?
Yeah.
The GRC's really kind of split. There's not a whole lot of middle. It seems like there's an upper part and a lower part, and there's a pretty good divide between those teams. And you see it there. And I see my wife commenting, "Go Gallatin!" So she's cheering for the other Bulldogs in the conference. And so South Harrison at 6-1, and we'll do this. Let me get off these. We'll put up the districts, and so still 2 games left in the regular season with Polo this week and Gallatin next week. But South Harrison sets 3rd. And if you're looking at this, Andrew, I think sometimes when people are looking, the thing to really look at is that points on the very end.
Yeah.
Cameron, although they're only 3-4, they play within their conference a lot of 3A and 4A teams, and so
Yeah.
even losses against those teams, the way the state has it set up, you get points for a loss if they're a bigger school, because you just look at the point differential, right? South Harrison
Yeah.
271 points for, 76 against, and Cameron's flipped it. They're 105 points less that they've scored than they've given up. Uh, and just because of that, and their schedule does lighten up, it'd probably be tough for South Harrison to jump Cameron.
Hmm.
Uh, but knowing that we still have to win out to make sure we don't get jumped by Lawson,
That's
because you
true.
want one of those top three so you can host a first round game
True. Yeah.
in the district, and so that's where South Harrison sits with all those things. We'll go ahead and come back here real quick, Andrew, and as we finish, after we've talked about volleyball and golf and softball, look back at Brookfield, looking ahead to polo. You've played polo within the conference. It's one of those places, it's a long bus ride, about an hour or so. The field's kind of small, and
Hmm.
the sidelines are on top of you. And the other thing with polo, and Coach Ross has been there a long time, you don't know what you're going to get formation wise, right? He'll get his tight splits, and they'll have three guys almost under center with those spinner backs, or sometimes they'll come out and go spread. And
Yeah.
maybe just talk about that, and what South Harrison can maybe expect going into polo, even though their record isn't one that would necessarily scare you. It's a team that can kind of try to grind it out and
Yeah.
play that game with South Harrison, try to keep those scores low.
Yeah. I mean, I guess not really in recent years, but how it used to be, Polo would just be the team that, you know, always up the middle all the time, kind of like a Navy or Army type offense, even less than the triple option. But they've kind of branched out these past few years. So South Harrison, I haven't seen any film on Polo or anything like that, but again, they're a team that always does play us tough. And obviously they're going to 8-man next year. They don't have a lot of 11-man games left. They probably want to knock off some of these 11-man teams and try to spoil South Harrison's season. Um, they're always kind of a tough, gritty team. They're always going to hit you hard, even if the talent's really not there. They're still going to try to be the tougher team at the end of the day. So that's something you got to walk into the game knowing as South Harrison. It should be a good test, but I'm still thinking the Bulldogs should win this one pretty easily.
And real quick, we'll finish with this, Andrew. Could this be a trap game? Not that you would lose, but right, South Harrison, since the Putnam game, the game they were looking towards, I'm sure on their schedule, was Brookfield. Now, obviously, the Knicks game will be the last, but
Yeah.
Gallatin, right? Those are the teams on the top. Is it easy? Maybe. And I know, right, your freshman year, you were kind of one of those teams on the bottom, but as you got to your junior, senior year, much better records. Is it easy for players to maybe overlook a team when you're just looking at the win-loss record?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you even see it in the college and NFL level. The big team will win a big game, and the next week they lose to some small team. So it happens all the time. That's really when this senior leadership and the experience comes in because you've kind of been through that feeling. Whereas you're a younger team, you kind of experience for the first time. But really good coaching staff, Coach Shoney and Coffee. They're not going to let this one fly right by right before the Gallatin game. Um, you know, don't have any more home games this year. We got to go at Polo, at Gallatin, and then if you win both of those, you're sitting in a good spot to host a playoff game. So that's really what you're playing for at this point. You want to be either that 3 or maybe 2 seed if we can jump Cameron, like you said. But gotta win these next 2 games.
All right, welcome in Joey Call watching as well, our former youth pastor there at Lone Star. And so I will, one more question, then we'll wrap it up. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure to share and follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, wherever you're watching. But this way people can go back and watch that highlight reel if they want. The other thing, Andrew, right, we talk about overlooking a team and doing those things. Polo, right, will try to ugly it up a little bit. I think the thing that helps South Harrison is that Brookfield game, even though I feel South Harrison was the superior team, it was a fight, right? It was just,
Oh yeah,
I mean, they get the safety to go up 9-0, but it was a 7-0 game. That's where we thought it would probably end at the first half. And so how much do you think that helps South Harrison going forward into Polo and Gallatin, then districts, getting back to having a game where you actually had to play all 4 quarters to be able to win one?
As a fan, personally, it makes me feel a lot better. So I can only imagine how it makes the players feel. You actually kind of prove to yourself as a player you can go in that environment and come out with a W in a tough environment, a tough game. So it really helps your confidence level that, this is possible. We can out tough the other team, and we can compete with a really good team like Brookfield, and not only compete, beat them 23-9. So yeah, I'm really looking for the South Harrison defense to step up this week, and hopefully allow another, single digit score for the other team. I can't remember how many weeks it's been since we let up double digits, but it seems like
Yeah, I mean, since
I guess
Putnam
since the
County,
Putnam
week
County
2,
game.
and so they've done a great job. And so always appreciate Andrew. I hope everyone enjoyed. Again, Harrison County Community Hospital, our sponsor here for all of our Sports Central content. Make sure to join Andrew and I Friday night from Polo. So if you can't make the trip down to Polo, we'll be live on both Facebook and YouTube. Usually start about 10 minutes early, so around 6:50. Also should have some coaching interviews coming out. I already have interviewed Coach Chris Schoening. That'll be out on Friday. Plan on talking to Coach Aaron Fitzpatrick with the softball team tonight. We'll try to get that out tomorrow ahead of their first district matchup awaiting either Penny or Brookfield. And then also hope to talk to Coach Kel Watson before state golf next week. As always, we appreciate your support, and we will see you Friday evening from Polo.